Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 251 of the Hammer Territory podcast. I'm Scott Coleman, and I am driving the boat on this Sunday edition of the show because our good friend Brad Rowland is currently on the other side of the planet. And I am joined this weekend as the Braves have won 5 games in a row and have just come off a sweep of the Cleveland Guardians by none other than Stephen Tolbert. Stephen, it's fitting that this team, terrible year aside, is now deciding to play its very best baseball as the home stretch is right around the corner.
Yeah, what's up, buddy? There was that great Twitter account forever, that Can't Predict Ball Twitter account where we just tweet the most random stuff that happens in the game and that you literally cannot explain baseball sometimes. And if you look at the quality of starting pitching the Braves got for 3 months, some of the best in baseball, some of the best pitchers in baseball, back in May and June, Sale and Strider and Swellenbach and Holmes were all pitching at almost all-star levels. Even Bryce Elder was pitching a lot better, and the Braves could not win a game. Could not score a run. It's the most maddening, frustrating. I mean, everybody who's followed along all year knows how frustrating that stretch was. And now Joey Wentz and Carlos Carrasco and Bryce Elder and, the band of misfit toys is in the rotation and they can't lose. And I mean, baseball is just the weirdest sport. And the offense has woken up. A bunch of guys, individual guys have woken up. Michael Harris, is the star of that show right now. But I mean, everybody and the offense up, even Nacho Alvarez, guys up and down the lineup are contributing. And so yeah, they are now they just went 5-1 on the road trip and got the White Sox coming in town next. I mean, yeah, it's just crazy. This is a crazy dumb sport, and it's one of the reasons we love it so much.
Yeah, offense is up across the board. I think the Braves are scoring a full extra run per game in the second half of the season versus the first. As a team, the on-base percentage is like top 5 in the majors, and they have the best walk rate, I think, or at least near the very top for walk rate among any team here in the second half. And it's frustrating because we all knew, as challenging as the first half was, I think we all knew there was just too much talent in this damn lineup to not score runs. Of course, now they're scoring runs with basically the entire rotation on the injured list, and I guess it goes that way. But hey, they take 2 out of 3 from the Mets. They just drive that stake in even deeper into a Mets team that's in a free fall right now. And then they sweep the Cleveland Guardians, who, I mean, kind of were out for dead, but Cleveland has been one of the hottest teams in the American League coming in. And they just, I mean, they took 3 games in Cleveland against a team that is playing pretty well. It's just hard to explain. And I mean, Can't Predict Ball is probably the best way to talk about this recent Braves stretch.
Yeah. And, it's not just been the offense covering up bad pitching. Like the pitching, like Joey Wentz has been very good. Hurston Waldrep has been very good. Like, yes, the Carrascos and the Elders, like the offense is having to cover up a lot in those games, but it's not just the offense covering up bad pitching. It's also been, they've gotten some unexpectedly good pitching from guys that were not on anyone's radar, never mind 6 months ago, a month ago. And then, add in the bullpen where Raciel Iglesias has gotten hot. The bullpen in general has calmed down a lot. So it is such a weird sport. And it could flip again tomorrow. The Reds could get swept by the White Sox next week. And this is a whole different conversation. But right now, they're arguably the hottest team in baseball. And with the most random ass rotation you'll ever see in your life. And that's baseball for you.
So let me ask you this, Stephen, because there has been whispers, I would say, in the Braves Twitter sphere, Braves Facebook, our YouTube comments, wherever it is. But are you getting your hopes up even like an iota, or are you still telling yourself this team is still so far buried, they're never going to see the sun?
I have decided that it's the hope that kills you. Like that's the famous line from The Dark Knight Rises, right? It's the hope that. So I've decided no hope is I go into every game expecting to lose, and just enjoy the outcome. As soon as I know myself well enough to know if they win, let's just say hypothetically they swept the White Sox, and then the Mets came to town and they took 2 out of 3. At that point, I know me well enough to know that I would be like, damn, all right, I'm going to start checking the standings every morning, which I haven't done in a month. And then that's where they'll lose and then rip your heart out again. So for the time being, I am full. There's no hope. There's no chance. This is crazy. We're just going to enjoy the ride for as long as it lasts. I'm sure the other shoe is going to drop any second now. And I'm not changing that mentality until, they would have to win like 10 and 12 in a row before that mentality changed, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, that's where I'm at too. It's just when you have as bad of a month of July as what the Braves had, that's just such a deep hill that you have to try to climb. And there's not just, if the Braves are trying to chase down like one team, two teams, that'd be different. But there's still, I think, 7 teams ahead of them in the wild card race. And sure, maybe crazier things have happened in the 140-year history of baseball, but that's kind of the boat I'm in. But as you said, if they have another really good week and then a week after that, I don't know.
I think you have to get back to 500. I think before you can even dream of anything.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the number. Like I'm going to assume the season's dead until they get back to 500, and then maybe the hope changes a little.
Yeah. And you know what? It's obviously I'd much rather be watching the Braves 20 games above 500, first place in the division, locking in a division title, a playoff spot, all of that, scoreboard watching for playoff seeding purposes. I would take that a million times out of 10, but it's a different experience right now because there's really no expectations going into these games. And if they're playing well, and they have been playing well, I watched as much as I could this weekend, but frankly, the way the season's gone, if they're down 6-0 in the third inning, I guess other than that one game against the Mets, more times than not, I'm flipping the channel because, they're obviously they're dead. I don't want people to think, Scott and Steven are saying the Braves are making the playoffs now. We are not saying that, but it's a different vibe entirely. And sometimes when there's no drama and stress of just that, like think about in 2022 when they tried to chase down the Mets and every night was so important. Like those were stressful baseball games in August and September. We're not really at that point in 2025.
Yeah. And baseball is a weird sport in that talent over a small sample does not matter as much as just like the Brewers are a great example. The Brewers are not the best team in baseball. They're not the most talented team in baseball, but they've been the hottest team in baseball for a month. Like if you just go roster for roster, the Brewers are probably like more like middle of the pack in terms of just talent. But in baseball, crazy stuff happens in small samples and random teams get crazy hot. And for the Braves, that's absolutely what it would take. It would take a Brewers level kind of hot streak to get actually back into this thing. And we're at just the very beginning of that. So they would have to continue this for another 2 weeks just to even have a chance. But crazy things like that do happen in sports, and they do happen with teams that maybe don't have the most talent. And like we just said, this pitching staff, specifically the rotation, doesn't have the most talent. But in baseball, that's not always the biggest factor in small samples.
Yeah. So we'll see. I guess the Braves have at least given us something to think about with 6-7 weeks to go in the season. On the news front, Stephen, usually we have quite a bit of news to talk about, but there's, frankly, the last few days since our last show, really not a ton in Braves world. Really, the one notable thing was Chris Sale made his second rehab start with the Gwinnett Stripers on Sunday. Pitched pretty well by most accounts. It seems like he's probably going to get at least one more rehab start, but all things considered, it seems like Sale is in a pretty good place with his rehab.
Yeah, it's funny. It's obviously very good news that Chris Sale is pitching and in Gwinnett already and probably set to make a start in Atlanta sometime in September. My guess is they'll do another rehab start or two. But it is funny. I was thinking today watching the game, like when the Braves offense sees Chris Sale on the mound, it's almost like they relax and they're like, oh, we don't have to score much. And when they see like Joey Wentz on the mound, they're like, oh, damn. All right, we need 5 or 6. Like, I remember that 2020 team that had like Max Fried and then no one else. You remember that? And they had to score 10 runs a night. 2023, they had no rotation for like the second half of the year. They had to score 10 runs a night. Like, I don't know. There's something weird about the offense where like when there's bad pitching on the team, the offense goes crazy. And when there's good pitching on the team, for some reason, the offense goes quiet. And so, watching Chris Sale come back, obviously I want Chris Sale to come back, and I want him to be healthy, and I want him to be healthy for 2026 is the big thing. But, I need the offense to pit. I need the offense to hit when we get good pitching. That's what I need. And lately it's been one or the other. Good pitching, no hitting, bad pitching, a lot of hitting. And we need to find a way to get both of those going at the same time at some point.
Yeah. I mean, has there been more than a couple of games at a time that this team had both the pitching and hitting going in the same direction?
Yeah, none.
It feels like it's been one or the other. And I don't know, maybe that's the perfect summary of the 2025 Braves so far this year.
Yeah.
All right, Stephen, we are going to take a quick break to hear a word from our sponsors. But after that, we have a sweep to talk about and some really encouraging signs from on the field from the Braves. We'll be right back in a moment.
The dog days of summer means the MLB is fully heating up, and so is your shot to score big. Download the Pick 6 app for the easiest way to turn your baseball takes into actual cash. It's crazy simple. Just pick more or less on the stats for two or more of your favorite players, and boom, you are in the mix for big cash prizes. No gimmicks, no weird rules. And get this, all new Pick 6 customers will instantly get $50 in bonus picks on just a $5 entry. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app right now and use code FOUL. That's code FOUL. New customers play $5 and get $50 in bonus picks instantly. Ride the upside where a few bucks can turn into a bag only on DraftKings Pick 6. Crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 and over. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. One per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick 6 bonus picks that expire in 14 days. 8/24/25 at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time. Terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
All right, Stephen, let's get into the games, and let's talk Friday. Was, I guess, one, maybe the most notable thing is that Ronald Acuna Jr. returned on Friday. Seems to be fine, no worse for wear. I'm sure the Braves are going to be careful with Acuna, but great to see Ronald out there after the scare. And really the big story from Friday night that almost caught on nationally, I think, was Hurston Waldrep. And Waldrep looks so good right now. He is not even miles ahead of where he was a year ago. Galaxies, universe ahead of where he was this time a year ago, where he could barely get the ball over the plate. And when he did, it was getting hit hard. Waldrep looks so good. That splitter is such a devastating pitch. And he has legitimately 3 or 4 pitches that he can go to through 6 scoreless innings on Friday night. And just, really impressive stuff from Waldrep.
Yeah, Hurston Waldrep has a 1.02 ERA, 1.02 ERA so far with the Braves. Just absurd. He came up in that Speedway Classic in kind of a emergency fashion. They pulled him off. They drove him up in the middle of the night. Obviously it was a rain suspended game, and he came in and pitched about 6 innings of that game. And just in that start, you could tell like the dude is just a different place mentally. Like that would have been last year, Hurston Waldrep coming up in that situation, that would have been a blow. He would have gotten lit up. Yeah. And he was just really calm and collected. He's got this splitter slider combo. There's actually some interesting research out there about having a splitter and a slider. Comes in from very similar arm slots for him. The tunneling of it is very effective. One goes down, one goes away, and it's very, very difficult for hitters to pick up and to lay off. It's a very unique splitter. Like people talk about, like if you haven't seen it, then it's like you got no shot again. It's just not something you see a lot. The fastball command has gotten substantially better. His fastball was basically unplayable last year. He could not throw his fastball. It was just getting rocked. And that's not been the case this year. It's become a weapon. So like you said, he's got like a full arsenal. And my God, what a development for the Braves if this kid can start living up to his first round potential, because the Braves have so much injury risk built into their rotation with Sale and Strider and Schwellenbach and Ronaldo Lopez and Grant Holmes and AJ Smith-Shaw.
Everybody.
The entire rotation has got massive injury questions. And a guy like Hurston Waldrep emerging, my God, that's a massive, massive story for the Braves.
Yeah, it's huge. And I can't recall who had the stat, but one of the Stuff Plus trackers who are really into the kind of the real advanced side of pitching also made a note that Waldrop's pitches all basically come, and you talked about the slider and the splitter, but they all come from a very similar plane.
Yeah.
And of course, they all move different. So if
Yeah.
you're a hitter, I mean, I played up until high school. I don't want to pretend like I'm a professional hitter here, but you can only imagine how hard that must be to make a decision, not only just picking the ball up out of his hand, but like midway from Waldrop's hand, from the mound to the plate. How are you supposed to decide? Is this a splitter? Is this a slider? Is it a fastball? Is it the sinker that he's been working in? It's really encouraging, and I think the Braves' development deserves the coaching staff deserves a lot of credit here for the development they've done with Waldrep, because I think it's fair to say the scout on Waldrep when they drafted him in the first round was that splitter is ridiculous, but he's got a long way to go before he can get major leaguers out, not just one time, but 2 and 3 times through the order. And in a year and a half, they have really just morphed Waldrep into pretty close to being a complete pitcher. And when you have an elite pitch, a truly elite pitch, which that splitter is, if you can just make your other stuff serviceable, I mean, that's going to carry Waldrep a long way. And if they can count on this kid in 2026, I mean, that is huge for this team going forward.
So far this season, Hurston Waldrep has had 44 balls put in play against him, and he's given up 1 barrel. So that tells you just how hard it is for hitters, like you were just talking about, to gauge where these pitches are going and get the sweet spot of the bat on it. And you add that with his, obviously a splitter is very much a swing and miss pitch. You add swing and miss with guys not being able to barrel it. I mean, that's literally success. That's major league. That's how you have success at this level, is miss bats. And when they do make contact, it's on, the wrong part of the bat. And so all the credit in the world goes to him, to the Braves player development. They've changed his arsenal a lot, done a lot of work. Like, this would be a major, like, very clear-cut example of like player development success, of taking a guy who was kind of at a dead end with where he was last year and completely, and the kid has to buy in as well. Like, he has to be like, all right, yeah, let's do it. Let's change some stuff. And that's not easy for somebody who's had as much success as he had up until that point. So, yeah, it's just a huge story. And again, if this is real, and we're going to wait, it's still very early in the kid's career. And, the league is going to see him, and then they're going to make adjustments, and he's going to have to make adjustments. We're not to the end. This is the beginning of this story, not the end of it. But if this is real, if the Braves really have found something with him, it's such major news for them.
Yeah, it's huge, man. I mean, we talked about big storylines in the second half of the year. Michael Harris, Jurickson Profar, Ozzie Albies, Drake Baldwin. On the pitching side, at least in my mind, Waldrep is like 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, 100%.
That is, if they have a legit, even if he is a number 4 starter for this team next year, that is huge, because we know how good Sale and Schwellenbach are when they're healthy. Hopefully with a normal offseason, Spencer Strider is better in 26. Like, there's the framework for an awesome rotation next season. It's just going to be if they can avoid the injury bug, and also probably add somebody to the rotation externally who through free agency or a trade, because God knows you can never have enough pitching. Friday night's game offensively, there was not a whole lot. I did want to give a quick shout out to Nacho Alvarez, because Nacho has had a really good last couple of weeks. He came up, he did not hit a thing, but Nacho's been putting the bat on the ball. He's had some doubles, which is really good to see. Had a huge hit in that Mets series. Had a bases loaded walk as well in the Cleveland series. And I mean, shout out to Nacho. Where are you at with him long term? I kind of see a good utility player, which is not a total zero, but he's at least showing things that Nacho has not really shown up until this point.
Yeah, he kind of reminds me of Jose Peraza. If Braves fans are old enough to remember, it was one of the Braves' better prospects, but it was at the time when the system was very bad. So, realistically, he was probably just more of a solid utility guy who had utility all over the infield, could even potentially play outfield in an emergency situation, had a light bat, but, could field his position in and multiple positions. And you can play 10 plus years in the league doing that. Every team in baseball wants a guy who can play third base, second base, first base, shortstop in a emergency situation, maybe right field. You can have a whole, I don't think Nacho is a like everyday, foundational core piece for a championship level team, but that's not the bar you have to clear to be a major leaguer. You just have to be competent in, certain defensive areas, take your walks. And that's something the bottom of the lineup has been doing better. The whole lineup is, in fact, but specifically the bottom of the lineup has actually been contributing to rallies by maybe just taking a walk and getting it back up to Profar, Olsen, and Acuna. And we've seen that multiple times in the last week where like the bottom of the order, like will even start a rally. Because even like Nick Allen's taking more walks. So yeah, I mean, credit to Nacho. I think he'd be a great bench piece. I would love to have him on the, if you told me right now, Nacho was going to be on the bench next year, I'd take it in a heartbeat. There's much worse guys out there than him. So credit to him. He's got to get a little stronger, get a little more pop in the bat to maybe if he wants to get up to like an everyday regular type of role, but he's still young. It's not impossible that he could do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Curious to see how Nacho develops. It's, an important time for him because he's getting regular reps with Riley on the injured list. And, it seems like Riley is probably going to come back in a couple of weeks, but until then, Nacho has a great opportunity ahead of him to show something. Moving to Saturday, the Braves, the offense went nuts. 10-1 win. Nice nights again at the bottom of the order. You mentioned Nick Allen. Oh, gosh. Is Nick Allen going to hit a home run this season?
That was as close. I think that was as close as we were going to get. That one.
Yeah.
If you missed it, did it hit the wall on the fly?
I think so. Yeah.
I think it hit the wall on it was, everybody was like, oh my God, he just barreled the ball. And it was like just short of the, it's a certain amount of exit velocity, a certain amount of launch angle. I don't know. It's going to be tight. He's such a small guy and he has such a armsy, upper half swing. There's not a lot of power. The funny thing is if you look at Ronald and you look at Nick Allen, by weight, they actually are not that far away. Ronald is not a heavy dude, but Ronald swings with his lower half. And so he can hit a ball 470 feet. And Nick Allen is very much like an Induranciarte, upper half, all arms kind of a swinger. And it's tough to generate any power like that. And, he's never going to be part of his game. It was funny that everybody on Twitter lost their mind because everybody thought Nick Allen just barreled the ball for the first. He's the only regular in baseball to not barrel a ball all season long. So that's kind of what everybody's been waiting for is that first one.
Yeah. It's I am holding out hope that Nick Allen is going to hook a ball down the left field line at Truist Park. And
that's what it's going to take. He's going to have to rope hook one. Yeah.
Maybe on a hot afternoon, a day game or something where the ball is really carrying. And yeah, so we're rooting for you, Nick. Hopefully you get one home run this season. We mentioned 10 runs and really the headline again, Stephen, Michael Harris. We have talked about Michael the last few weeks as he has just continued to just punish the baseball. He absolutely launched a home run 452 feet on Saturday. That also made it 8 straight multiple hit games for Michael Harris on Saturday night, which tied a Braves franchise record. It actually ended on Sunday, of course, when he had a chance to break the record. But, Michael Harris, he is just hitting the ball so well right now. We've talked about Mike a bunch on the show, so I don't think we need to do another 20-minute deep dive on Michael Harris here. But, every time he comes up, it feels like something good is going to happen.
Yeah, what I've noticed with Mike is that his approach really hasn't changed that much. He's still – so I had somebody tweet at me and say, our pitchers throwing Mike more strikes than in the second half than they did in the first half. So I looked it up. His zone percentage is almost exactly the same as it was in the first half. Pitchers aren't pitching him any different. He's still not taking any walks. I don't think he has a single walk in August or maybe one.
Yeah.
So
his walk rate in the second half is 2.2%.
Yeah, which is exactly almost maybe lower than it was in the first half. So his approach is not any different. So you're like, all right, so what's happening? When Mike gets pitches in the zone right now, he's not missing them. And he's not fouling them off. He's not swinging through them. He's putting them in the seats or putting them in the gap. He's just doing so much more damage per swing than he was in the first half. He changed his hands, he changed his stance, went back to his kind of original one that he had as a rookie. and I've said, listen, we talked about this. I don't know. I don't know what to make of it. I don't know if it's real. I don't know. I don't know if this is something you can project over a full season next year, because that's the question everybody has. Can this dude do it for 6 months? Maybe not this for 6 months, but can you be like a serviceable hitter? Like when you're going through your bad spells, can you be at least serviceable? And so that when you're hot, now you're still like an all-star level player. What we can't have is like for the first 3.5 months of the year, be the worst player in baseball and then do this. And so that's the question everybody has. And I don't know. I have no idea. I've made the joke about being Charlie Brown. Like, I don't know. I really don't know what this, I tend to think because it's been accompanied by like mechanical changes in his swing that there's probably something more real about it. But honestly, until we get to the first half of next year and see what he does, I don't know how much confidence I have in it. It's unbelievable to watch right now. It's fun as hell to watch right now. But yeah, we just got to see him do it for like 6 months.
Yeah. I mean, good luck projecting Michael Harris in 2026.
Yeah. If you had to project Michael's 2026 right now, I mean, it's an impossible task.
Right. Right. Is he going to revert and have the football pulled from him? Like you made that great analogy, or is he going to be an honest to goodness MVP candidate if he does this for a full year?
And that is the ceiling. Like that's how talented this dude is. Like it's like MVP level talent.
Yeah.
Or it's like worst hitter in baseball. Like the floor and ceiling for Michael Harris is insane.
Yeah. I can't remember who of the four of us said, but as we were previewing the season, I think someone said out loud, like, if Michael Harris puts it all together, I could legitimately see him being like a top 5 MVP vote getter in the National League.
I said that like 5 times. I know it because I got made fun of all the first half because Sean and I talked about it. Like with Acuna coming back from a second ACL, at one point we made the argument that Mike is the most talented player on the team.
Yeah.
Which, after we watched the first half, we were like, all right, so that was the dumbest take of all time. It's watching him is crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah. And he's so talented that you can never give up on him.
Yeah.
It's special player, special talent. Let's just hope he can have a good final month and a half of the season and then carry this into next year. Cause God knows the Braves need a good Michael Harris if they're going to really be a contender in 2026. All right, Stephen, let's talk about Sunday's game. The Braves wrapped up the sweep. It was not looking good in the early going. Eric Fetty on the mound. Braves were down early. It felt like it was going to be one of those, okay, they got 2 out of 3 in the series. You take it, you move on. But the offense fought back. It was fun to see. I think maybe the most jerks and Profar thing imaginable was just an awful blunder in the outfield where he dropped a relatively routine fly ball. I get it. He was trying to make the catch and then fire it in to get the runner, but he ended up dropping it, cost the Braves. But Profar did atone for it, and he hit a 2-run homer later in the game that would end up being the game-winning homer. It is the jerks and Profar experience. Every night, seemingly there's something weird. It is what it is, but hey, the Braves won, and Profar did have the biggest swing of the game.
Yeah, and he missed a second homer by like a foot. Like it went foul by like a foot. He would have had a second 2-run homer. I mean, it's funny, like in football, like in the NFL, like you have these diva wide receivers and like your tolerance level for their nonsense is at like a commiserate rate to their production. Like as long as they're still very good, you don't really care about the nonsense off the field. But like, when you're talking about defense in the corner spots of a field, right field, left field, first base, third base, my willingness to deal with your nonsense on defense is commiserate with your offensive production. Like, as long as your offense is there, I don't really care. Like, one of the worst hitters in all of baseball, one of the worst fielders in all of baseball is Juan Soto. You never hear about it because he hits like Juan Soto.
Yeah.
Ronald Acuna Jr. is not a great fielder by any metric. I don't care. He has 1,000 OPS most of the time. So for Jerks and Profar, he's got a 120 WRC plus right now. His defense has been awful. But if you hit, I don't care about the other nonsense. Like it's just your offensive production covers up a lot. And right now he's hitting. And like, with Austin Riley, like it's the same thing. Like if Austin hits, I don't care about the defense at third base that much.
Yeah.
Like, when you're playing up the middle, when you're playing catcher, shortstop, center field, the defense matters a lot more. At those corner spots, just hit. I just need you to hit. And Jurickson's hitting. And so, and the fact that he's taking walks allows the Braves to be, creative with their lineup about where to put Acuna. As long as he hits, I'm good.
Yeah. Because most of the time, left field defense is not going to kill you.
Yeah.
I mean, sure, all things equal, of course. We want gold glovers at 8 spots on the diamond, naturally. But it's not the case. And then also just some weird base running, too, from Profar.
He's so slow. He's like, Matt Olson is going to murder this guy. Like, Matt Olson's hit multiple doubles with Profar on first with 2 out. And Profar hasn't come close to scoring on either one. It's hilarious.
It is maybe the argument for moving Acuna up in the lineup to the leadoff spot, other than being an otherworldly hitter, is just Acuna speed. If Matt Olson gaps a ball, Acuna's scoring.
And one of the ones Profar didn't score on was a 3-2 count where he was running on the pitch and still didn't score.
Wow. He runs. My high school coach used to yell at me to unhook the trailer because I'm not very fast. I mean, when Profar's running the bases, I'm gonna start yelling at my TV to unhook the trailer because he's not fast. He looks like he's fast. It's
the skinny guy. Like, you don't expect the skinny guy. Like, you expect Brian McCann to be slow.
Right.
The skinny guy slow is the one that shocks your system. You're like, what? Why are you so slow, bro?
Yeah.
It's hilarious.
Yeah. So seemingly every night, good and bad, Profar finds a way to get himself in the mix. But hey, you said it, man. This team needs Profar to hit. After the PED suspension, I mean, everybody was holding their breath because, the Braves, unless they're able to trade him this offseason, I don't even know if they want to, frankly. I mean, they're married to this guy for 2 more seasons beyond this. And if his breakout last year was entirely PED fueled, that would be disastrous. And it seems like, even though it's only been, a month and a half of data that we've seen, it seems like Profar is going to hit enough to not turn that contract into a total albatross.
Oh, a 120 WRC. If you told me that that's what Profar was going to do for the next 2 years, I don't care. I literally don't care about anything else. I'll take that right now. I don't care if he runs like a mailbox. I don't care if he's, the worst defender you've ever seen. When you hit out of one of those corner spots, it covers up pretty much everything else.
Yeah, it really does. And we'll see what the next 2 years hold for Profar. Outfield, maybe some DH mixed in. I mean, honestly, Stephen, the DH spot this offseason is maybe like the number one storyline is what are the Braves going to do? Because there are so many avenues this team could go. Probably a deeper discussion. Maybe we'll do a show sometime in September or early October before the offseason really gets going and really just lay out all the little pathways this team could do, because they do have some options here coming up. The only other game note, I wanted to give a big shout out to the bullpen, especially on Sunday. The group of Aaron Bummer, Dylan Lee, Pierce Johnson, and Raisel Iglesias covered 5 scoreless innings in relief of Eric Fetty, made it hold up. They entered the game. The Braves were down, and then Profar gave them the lead, and they held it the last 3 innings, which was great to see. And I wanted to just mention Raisel Iglesias because this dude, ever since he had the infamous blow up against the Diamondbacks the first week of June, has been like as good as he has ever been in his entire career, dating back to that Diamondbacks blow up. Iglesias has a 1.6 ERA, a 1.85 FIP, a 3.4 xFIP, and he's pitching like someone who might be back in 2026 because God knows Alex Anthopoulos loves a reunion, and he is pitching like the guy we have seen for years with Atlanta, even if those first couple of months were just unspeakably bad.
Yeah. And listen, I think, we've talked about it multiple times. I don't think the Braves were willing to eat enough of that money to get him on another team. Imagine how many teams would love to have Raisel Iglesias right now who are, getting ready for the playoffs. But yeah, you're right. Listen, the Braves don't have a closer lined up for next year. We talked about all the different storylines for the offseason. That's another one. They currently don't have a closer under contract for next year. Obviously, Iglesias is a free agent. Joe Jimenez, who was kind of signed to be the primary setup man, has missed the entire season with a knee injury. He recently got shut down again because the knee wasn't, doing exactly what they wanted it to do. We'll see how serious that is. They need a closer. I mean, and, it's going to be interesting to see who the manager is, like old school, new school, like Brian Snitker kind of manager. They want a closer. They want a set it and forget it every single time closer. They want a traditional closer. And that's been a spot that really has maintained itself, even in the analytical modern game. Like, most teams still have closers. So that's going to be fast. Like, what do the Braves do at that spot? And yeah, you're right. I mean, if he keeps pitching like this, it won't be at $17 million a year, which is what he's making now. But I would not be stunned. Nobody would be stunned if they, at some point called him up and said, hey, let's run it back on a 1-year deal.
Yeah. Yeah, you took the words out of my mouth. I mean, another 1-year deal seems, and if Joe Jimenez is healthy next season, that is an obvious kind of backup plan for closer, but that's easier said than done. And it will be 18 months since Joe Jimenez was on a mound and pitching at a high level. And then, it's our podcast specialty that bullpens are volatile year over year. But yeah, I mean, I think bullpen is very interesting going into next season. Not the priority for me anyway, but there's some real questions here about, do they run it back with this group and then just hope with a healthy Jimenez and bring back Iglesias for one more year, or do they kind of shuffle the deck a little bit and see what they want to do? Stephen, that was really it from the weekend. I mean, man, a good sweep of a decent Guardians team. I don't want to pretend like they just went into, LA or New York and swept one of the better rosters in the game. But I mean, overall, just an encouraging week from the Braves. We talked at the top. They're still probably dead, but it's fun to see this team play well. And I mean, it's been few and far between that we can say this team played 3 complete across the board good games at any point this season.
Well, and you saw the variety too. Like Hurston Waldrep pitched a gem. They won a low scoring close game on Friday. Offense exploded. They blew them out on Saturday, and then they needed a comeback on Sunday to win, another close game. So you saw the full variety. Now we got Spencer Strider going against the White Sox starting tomorrow or Tuesday. I can't remember.
Monday. Yeah. Series starts against the White Sox Monday.
So obviously every Spencer Strider start is going to be notable. Until we get to the winter and even into next year, what he looks like. But yeah, I mean, this is their first 5-game winning streak of the season is what they just did. I mean, literally the best they played all year. So it is bittersweet that it's happening when their playoff odds are sub 1%, but and there's this entire subset of fans who are mad because they don't want wins right now. They want losses. They want draft position. I don't know where you stand. I'm really not all that interested in like just tanking, just because the draft doesn't work the same way. But I get it. Listen, I understand people who are not all that excited about winning games, but I still think it's fun. I still want to win games. More specifically, I want to see guys who are still under contract for next year having success, which leads to wins. So yeah, it was a really fun week.
I find myself caring more about storylines than wins and losses.
Yeah.
And all things equal, of course, I want the best chance at the most draft money and the highest slot and everything like that. But I'm not losing sleep, like the difference between having the 5th best odds and the 7th best odds at the lottery in December in a draft like baseball. I mean, sure, if this was an NFL team who was desperate for a quarterback, it's different, right? Or if it's basketball and you have a generational player going 1-1, of course, it's a little different, but I mean, more than likely, the Braves are going to take a player and we'll be excited for 24 hours. And then we'll say, okay, hopefully in 2029, this guy's, playing and contributing every night. And it's just such a different game than the other professional sports. You mentioned, Stephen, on Monday night, the Braves will kick off a 3-game homestand against God help them, the Chicago White Sox. It's going to be Spencer Strider on Monday night. Hopefully Spencer can kind of get back on track because the last handful of starts have been really bad. And then Bryce Elder on Tuesday night. Everybody say a prayer. But then Hurston Waldrep on Wednesday. So if you're in the area and maybe you feel like checking out some baseball, Waldrep, man, that is, in my opinion anyway, Hurston Waldrep Day is the most fun day with this rotation right now.
I got a stat for you.
Okay, let's do it.
The Atlanta Braves in the second half, as a team, have a 110 WRC plus as a team. That is good for sixth best in baseball. Just above them, at fifth best in baseball with a 112 WRC plus in the second half, the Chicago White Sox. So the White Sox cannot pitch. They have no pitching. They get lit up every night, but they can hit. They do have some young hitters. Colson Montgomery has come up and hit like 12 or 13 homers in his rookie year. So I know it's the White Sox and people think, well, Spencer Strider should just mow through these dudes. It's not going to be quite that easy. They've actually been one of the hottest offenses in baseball in the second half. They have not won a lot because they can't pitch, but for Strider, for Waldrep, like, they're still major league hitters and they've done pretty well in the second half of the season. So, I think normally you would say go win 2 out of 3 where the Braves are right now. You're honest to God, probably need a sweep, but win 2 out of 3 and see what happens.
Yeah. Hey man, if they sweep the White Sox the next 3 games, I feel like we're doing ourselves in. And again, I promise you, Steven and I are not sitting here saying to go pre-order your playoff tickets. We are not saying that, but it's going to be funny
we need one more week. You need another week of like what they just did, where they sweep one of these series and take 2 out of 3 from the other. Then the conversation we're having at the beginning of next week, that's when it might get a little interesting. But right now, there's still no hope. No hope.
And at the very least, we can make the New York Mets sweat a little bit more. So the Braves are off on Thursday after the series with Chicago, and then 3 games at home against the Mets. The Mets have their issues. Braves just took 2 out of 3 with Elder and Carrasco starting the series. So anytime we can make life a little more difficult for the Mets and their fans, let's do it. And let's hope for another fun week. And I think at some point, Steven, the lights are really going to turn off. They're going to have a bad 48, 72 hours, and we're going to go, okay, now it's like really, really over, and let's actually start thinking about next season. But until that comes, I'm just kind of along for the ride and enjoying the wins whenever we can get them.
Yep, I agree 100%. I think at some point the rug is going to get pulled. It might be this series against the White Sox, but until then, we're going to enjoy it because what else is there to do? We're going to talk about it. We're going to have fun with it. Still a lot of storylines to follow. Like Scott was saying, storylines are probably way more important than wins and losses right now anyway. So we'll be here to cover it.
I agree entirely. We will be here. Maybe Brad Rowland will travel back across the pond and get back on the show. Of course, we have a lot of shows with Brad, with yourself, my law partner, Sean Coleman. Of course, we'll have fun these last 6 weeks. Win or lose, we'll find things to talk about as always. Steven, any final thoughts here before we sign off for this Sunday edition of the Hammer Territory podcast?
They just win on Sundays now. What is that? 3? Is it 3 Sundays in a row? Or
technically 3 in a row? I know there was a lot of back and forth about the games in Bristol, but it's at least 2 legitimate Sunday wins in a row, and we're calling it 3 wins in a row.
I mean, Brad being out of town right now is hilarious because I'm pinch hitting on one of the few Sundays that the Braves actually won a game. So yeah, I mean, it's fun. It's fun right now. I'm going to enjoy the hell of it. I can't wait for the game tomorrow. That's where I am right now. And I didn't think I'd be saying that 2 weeks ago. It's just more fun. Chris Sale is going to come back at some point. Austin Riley's probably going to come back at some point. I'm going to have fun with it, and we'll see how long it goes. Probably get the rug pulled here pretty soon. But until then, it's fun to follow the team.
That is right. So again, as always, a big thank you to everybody for checking out the show. We will be back with a handful of episodes this upcoming week. Hopefully the Braves can keep winning and making life interesting for this team, and then keep building momentum against that series against the damn New York Mets next weekend. He is Stephen Tolbert. I am Scott Coleman. A big thank you again to everybody for checking out the show, and we will see everybody next time.